bonjour, hello friends, welcome back to Content Culture. It's your girl, Tomi,
And Nicole.
and we are ready to chat all things the Bachelorette premiere with Michelle Young because, woo, she killed that.
Yeah, I think this was normally I don't get excited about the first episode. I'm like, oh, it's so long, it feels dragged out. But like this was actually like a fun and interesting episode, I felt like.
I agree, and I feel like the timeline, at least on Twitter, because that's where I was and you were doing stories, felt very energized for people who have been watching this freaking show now for like a year back to back. Like the fatigue I thought had set in. I know for myself with Paradise, I didn't even watch the last two episodes. I'll be honest. When they said there were 3 hours, I was like, give me the Spark Notes version. I could not do it. And especially once you know like the spoilers and stuff, I was like, I can't be pulled into it.
Right.
But here I was like ready to go at 8 o'clock to watch it all, and I just had a smile on my face the entire time.
I know. She like it started and I was like, oh, like the first couple minutes will drag. And then literally I was like, she is so stunning. I am so captivated
Yes.
and I'm ready to go. So I'm all in on Team Michelle.
Yeah. So I know I kind of lied last week. I apologize when I said that we'd be back with pop culture things this week. But I feel like we just have a little bit more to get into because it is premiere night. I want to give that its full flowers, roses, if you will. And then probably we'll do it a little bit later. But let's just do it. Nicole, let's go this full rundown and share our thoughts.
Well, before we start,
Oh.
I know we've been off a while, but
Mm-hmm.
Tomi, as we normally start, how was your weekend? What did you do?
Oh, yes, let's get into it. Wow. Yeah, I did that all to take some time to realize I did not do anything this weekend. As I've been in recovery sickness wise, but also just like trying to get back into the swing of things, I'm trying to take it slow. And I'm excited to try and do some like fall activities this weekend. I'm probably gonna do some farmers market things. Um, small things here and there, lots of like organization stuff around the house.
Yeah, I thought of you this morning because I saw John King from CNN revealed
Yes.
that he has MS and he was
Mm-hmm.
having a flare up last year during election week. And I was like, I mean, I don't have MS, but just like knowing your experience and like how
Yeah.
run down you are, I was like, I cannot imagine having a flare up during election week and being like a political coverage
Yes,
reporter.
yes, like, oh my gosh, I like felt for him, and when he shared that too, I was like, wow, look at us out here getting this representation. We have Selma Blair, we have John King, like, who else gonna join the tribe?
Exactly. I was like, let's go.
Yeah. But what about you? What did you do?
Oh, what did I do this weekend?
I feel like you haven't shared any like fun day stories and stuff. Like, has that happened recently, or just been like,
You know what I can share here as an exclusive.
ooh,
Um, you will never believe who I found on a dating app recently.
yes, please do share.
Um, there's a certain Kennedy member family
Oh,
that dated Taylor Swift
I'm sorry.
and just happened to pop up on my Bumble
Wait,
recently.
like Connor.
Yeah, it looks good. You know
I
what? It looks good.
Girl, I thought you were about to talk about the guy who had Rachel Lindsay in his like profile photo thing on Bumble.
No, 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 no,
Not
no, no.
this. Not
No.
this. Not real tea.
Real tea.
Did you
Listeners,
match?
you heard it here first, exclusively. We haven't matched yet, so I'm like, I mean, he's a little young. He's 27, but I mean, I would still go out with him.
That's what say. That's the range. 3 years is fine.
But yeah, I was just like stunned to see him. I was like, oh, it was like startling. It's like, oh,
I think that's what's startling. Yeah, is that I don't know why does
should he
he?
be on Bumble?
Right.
Does he need
Maybe
Bumble?
maybe he's getting paid for it. Like how you know how there's like Bachelorette stars and stuff on there like all the time.
Yeah, yeah, perhaps.
I don't know.
I don't
Slide
know.
in those DMs, girl.
I might. I might. I feel like it's kind of. It was funny. I was like, what has he been doing since like he dated Taylor Swift? And I was like, he was dating Damon Dash, his daughter. And I was like, I think I'm like a little too poor, for this.
Oh,
Like
oh.
he's gonna be like, is that a Honda?
Mm. Mm. Listen, I'm
So
just saying, if you're in the radius that he has set, then he's like, I'll do it.
yeah. So maybe we'll have an update. I don't know. Probably not, but it did make me laugh. I was like, this is something else.
The sad thing is, if you do end up matching with him, there's no way you can share it here.
No, I would like definitely like should I even share this that I saw him on an
Yeah,
app? And then I was
yeah.
like, I can share that on the podcast. It's an exclusive.
We'll have to come up with some type of like code words thing so that you guys know, but she cannot be held liable. If any of it
Exactly. I am
becomes
not trying to get sued by that family.
not at all.
No, don't have the money for it.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, other than that, I went to IKEA and walked around.
Okay.
Love their showroom. Love to just get some little inspiration moments.
Sure,
And
sure. Some
yeah, that's been
snacks.
about it. Yeah.
I love it. I'm already trying to plan a surprise. I haven't even told you that I want to come to DC in the spring. I feel
Okay.
like it's a great time to be there, and I'm putting together that little list. So just be ready.
All right. Anytime. I'm ready. Tommy's like, surprise, I'm here.
Surprise! Yeah, this is why our lives are able to keep up with everything pop culture in The Bachelor, because we don't do anything else. So
Exactly.
teehee.
Sacrifices we make.
Mm-hmm.
But let's dive into this premiere episode. So we start off, we get our intro package on Michelle. Things we already know. She's a teacher. We see her in her classroom. We see her with her lovely parents, her white mother, her black father. Her father is the cutest man alive. I think we knew this.
Yeah, and I forgot that we get to see Ephraim again, and he popped up on our screen. I was like, the best part. I missed him. His
He's so
calming
pure.
presence.
I cannot wait until
His
like the
wise
finale
eyes.
when he's there. Yeah, he just seems like
Yes.
such a gem.
Mm-hmm.
So we see him, and then we see her traveling to Indian Wells, where they are going to be recording portions of this season.
Mm-hmm.
And we see her meeting with Tasha and Caitlin. She's really excited. She's really gracious. And then we start to see the men. And
do you think the classroom too of her kids are the ones that we're going to see throughout the season, or those are just going to be like child actor people?
I was thinking they were more child actor people.
Oh, that's so sad. I did love that they, obviously I knew that they were going to probably show them in the beginning, but a little like comment from the girl with the hijab, and she was like, I can't believe she's going to be dating 30 men. Like, she's going to kiss them all? Ew. I'm like, childhood, so pure.
I know. When you're like, ew, kissing someone is so serious. I would never.
Yeah.
So pure.
Yes.
So we start to see intro packages for the men. We see, and it was interesting because it was a lot of the guys that we have said we think could be heavy hitters,
Yes.
right?
I texted you and I said, are we prophets?
Yeah.
Why are all of the people that were like top picks coming out the gate? And when they started with Chris S, I was like, this guy's going to go super far, isn't he? I took him out of my original list of people once we got to the second half, and I was like, oh, there's so many like great people over here. I have to take Chris S out. And now look at me, Boo Boo the Fool.
Mm-hmm. It's okay. We both got a little egg on our face last night. But we'll get into that later. But some highlights, we see Clayton, his mom is a teacher, so she records a video for Michelle, which is kind of sweet, kind of calculated, kind of sweet, I guess.
Yeah.
We see Brandon J. We learned that he raised his brother.
Yes.
Which I thought was like I was like, that's an interesting backstory. I feel like if he makes it very far at all, that definitely will be exploited.
Yeah. I also think that was to help show too, because some more maturity, because I know my thing was like, he seems kind of young, and he also has like a baby face as well, so that doesn't really help. So I was shocked that they kind of had like a little bit of banter there with like later on and stuff like that, but I think that backstory kind of helped give a little bit of a window into why he's able to hang with a lot of these cast members that could be like a little bit older, slightly more mature.
Exactly. We see one of our favorites, Nate, and his dog. I will say,
cute.
listeners, Nate did interact with our Instagram, our podcast Instagram. We are now a Nate Stan account.
Surprise.
It's Nigerians all day, every day.
Yeah, we reposted the clip of us talking about the stallion voice, but with Nigerians. And I don't even know if he just did the emojis, but he's like, I love it, or something like that. And I was like, yes, you do, King.
Yes. I was like, we love you. Go get Michelle.
Give us more puppy content.
Exactly. And then we see something that we've never seen before. Tasha and Caitlin, as the men are arriving, are going by their rooms and saying hi, and then kicking them out and searching through their things.
Yeah.
Do you think this was like a sign that something sinister was going to happen?
It very much reminded me of, I believe, Becca's season when Demi and Katie were in the like surveillance van outside of the mansion. It's like,
Yes.
ooh, we're gonna spy and do all this stuff. Whenever that's already being set up, that means that they already know something. So for me, I'm like, at this point in time as I'm watching it, I'm thinking the producers either saw the folder and they're like, oh, you need to like come in here now, because just so you know, when they get to the mansion, like they're not, or wherever they're, is this where like the entire first part is going to be, or just like
I believe
night?
so. I believe
Okay.
so.
Because I know like usually what happens is like they have their stuff and then they have to like throw away all of their like personal item things before they go in. Like, so you can't have your phone, cameras, books, whatever, whatever, but they're able to keep all this. So I highly doubt he'd even be able to take those notes in to like the next phase
Without someone knowing.
without someone knowing. So producers knew like this is our only shot to be able to, one opportunity to exploit this as much as possible.
Yes. And so I was just so bummed because Ryan's intro package
Right.
was great. He was like, I live on my family farm. He was like, ladies, I can plow a field. And I was like, oh, okay, he's funny. And then Tasha and Caitlin show up, go through his things. That he's the first guy that they like kick out, really.
Mm-hmm.
And they find a folder. It says The Bachelorette. It's misspelled. And it has all of these notes about Jason Tartick and
Yeah.
like how to not be a villain, how to get more screen time.
Mike Johnson has swagger, stuff like that.
He does. But I was like, my jaw was on the floor. I don't know about you, but I was watching it and I was like, not Ryan.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. I said, crap, this is my top 4. Pick, and it's so sad because as I was watching the entire premiere with the intro package with his limo exit, everything was pristine and already gave you those vibes of like he's confident, like he's well spoken, he knows what he's doing. And right when I saw that, I was like, there's absolutely no way that he's making it past this rose ceremony.
Right.
Do
you think producers planted that? That's the question I asked on Instagram stories last night.
So it's very difficult because, as we know and we spoke about, Ryan was part of the Bachelor Live thing in 2020, which, if you didn't know, is like the series of live shows that they tried to put on in different cities across the country with Becca and Ben Higgins like hosting it. And they would like get local men to like do little like a mini Bachelor series for the night type of thing and set him up with people. So he was picked for his area. So that means he knew producers, obviously kept in touch with them to be able to come here. I think he either showed them this through the casting process or like they saw it before the night started filming and said, oh, that's so cute. That's so funny that you have that. Yeah, bring it. Just make sure you like look over it before the night and like, really get acquainted with all the information you have. So I don't know necessarily if that they planted it there, but they were definitely aware of it and probably encouraged him that it was a good thing and like not weird at all.
Right. So we see that.
Well, but what about you? What are your thoughts on that?
I was torn because yes, he was on The Bachelor Live. And so it kind of didn't add up that he said like, I didn't know anything about the Bachelor world because I was like, well, you were the San Jose Bachelor on Bachelor Live.
Right.
So what's the truth here?
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm just salty that one of my top 4 picks.
That's what Will told me last night. He said
I was trying to object, but I saw Will was immediately on my poll. He was like, no, they did not put it. I was like, Will, you don't have to do me dirty like this.
Oh my gosh.
You're supposed to be on my side.
Correct. Yeah, my husband was like, just stop projecting. You want
like,
him to be a good person. It's fine. And I'm like, okay, you're right.
I'm like, all right, I miscalculated.
Mm-hmm.
It's
these
fine.
limo exits though.
Okay, so first up, we have, my note says, first up is Nate and his 6'8" self. He comes out of the limo. He said, I'm Nate. And he's like, better Nate than ever.
Yeah, better Nate than ever.
And what did you think? I was like smitten immediately. I was like, yes.
Smitten, yes. I think it's interesting because like I don't think he was actually the first one. I'm not sure because I obviously what we know like through what happens throughout the rest of the episode, but like the thing that she said as he like turned around and was watching him go, I wish I had written it down, but it was something like, ooh, that was a great way to start off. It didn't show him in that clip. It just showed her turning around. And so I'm like, oh, I wonder if this was like later on they decided to cut it and put it here. But I think it was very like good to see that they're like, let's start off with this little nugget here. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it.
Then we have Romeo come out. He is speaking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he was speaking. He was speaking a foreign language, though. I was like, is this Italian? Is it Spanish? Is it
And again, it's the
French?
prophet. It's the prophet coming out. I said he's going to come out of this limo speaking another language. And here we go.
And as Tomi predicted, he did lean into the Romeo and Juliet line. So he
Mm-hmm.
says, I'm Romeo. I hope you'll be my Juliet. And hopefully, and I know our love story won't end in a tragedy. He was kind of smooth. He was kind of smooth, I'll say it.
But his hairline wasn't smooth, I'll tell you that.
It was not.
I was like, you're not going to even line it up before you go on the show?
I want to give him the benefit of the doubt that he was quarantined and there was no barber, but I don't really believe that. Mm-mm. I feel like someone could have lined him up.
And also, I feel like I feel obligated to share this too. There was someone who I follow on Twitter. She's like another Twitter influencer, personality, I'm not really sure. And she was talking about how she knew someone who was going to be on the Bachelorette this season, that they went to school with them. And I DM'd her and I was like, oh my God, you have to tell me who it is before I start stating all these guys and like thinking it's going to be one of these people in our top 4. And of course it was in fact Romeo. And she also tweeted that like, she's like, that guy has never dated a Black woman in his life. Like they all had the same friend circles, all this stuff. And I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Pour one out, because my top 4 is looking real bad right now. We had Ryan, we had Romeo.
Yeah, we're down 2.
I'm looking like a fool.
It's you know what? It's fine. We're gonna be fine. Still a lot of great men.
Hopefully my other 2 are solid picks. But we see Clayton, and it was like we're seeing all of these heavy hitters who we think are heavy hitters early.
There's Jeff before him, right? But he just gave me very odd vibes. I don't know why, but a lot of the white contestants were giving me like serial killer vibes.
Yeah. Like the eyes are weird on some of these guys.
Yeah, I was like, a lot of crazy eyes.
The vibes are not right. Let me go.
Yeah.
Clayton brings her a yardstick and says, in case I act up, but hopefully I won't. And then he says, but you can use this. First off, we haven't used yardsticks on children in like 60 years. Okay. Like it's not a recent reference, but it was like kind of funny. I didn't expect it from him. Like I didn't expect him to be so playful.
No, not at all. And I feel like too, oh, sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Because he's like a man of the court. I was thinking like Midwest, very serious man. Go ahead.
A man of the court? Oh my gosh. Yeah, and that's also I think why it like shocked me. My mouth was on the floor when he did it. But yeah, we don't do the apples things, like all these things that like were huge tropes. I'm kind of shocked that no one else leaned into like the sexy teacher thing. I would much rather you do that versus saying like, show me your tatas, like this other guy that came out. We'll talk about later.
Yes.
But yeah, I loved it. I thought it was playful, whatever. If I was Michelle, I would have gone a little harder though.
Yeah, she gave him like a really soft time. Was like, I'm gonna go easy on you. I was like, there's some like a little chemistry. I did not expect it.
I at least wanted, or the producers, I wanted to edit in some sound that's like a louder snap, like something. Yes, give me a crack.
I thought she really was gonna like hit it with it. Yeah. I was like, oh, good for you, girl, but she didn't. Then we have Chris S come in. I have notes on the ones that I thought were weird. He's wearing a shorts uniform, and he's like, I'm ready for my first day. I'm sorry. When I saw him in the group photo that we were talking about earlier, and he's the only one in like the short suit, I was like, I can't take this seriously.
It's difficult because obviously you want to stand out when there's so many guys, and like this is the hardest stage of the show. Is like as long as you can make it through night 1, then you have a way better chance of either lasting through the franchise, of doing Paradise, or obviously getting to know Michelle. But I'm like, is this the way to go? If you guys haven't seen our tweet roundups, there's a photo that compares him to Prince George, like William and Kate's child. And yes, that's exactly not only the same vibes outfit wise, but he does in fact look like him. It's not necessarily sexy, so I don't think I would have gone with that choice.
Exactly. He stood out in the wrong way. He does have some like confidence, I guess, in that he says to Michelle, you may have to pass an exam yourself. And he's like, maybe you'll get an A or a D. And then Michelle, so quick with it immediately, she was like, I will see you later. Love her.
She's so witty. She's so, I love it. It's just interesting because I feel like when she's out there are other bachelorettes that they're standing there and they're doing all their deep breaths and stuff before like people are coming in these limos or like all these nerves. Not an ounce. She
never got flustered. She
at
never got
all.
flustered. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And Clayton said, like, after he came in after the spanking thing, he was like, I thought she would be nervous, and she was just like so calm.
Yeah.
And he was like, so I was more nervous almost.
I had a couple of men in between
Yeah.
Clayton and Chris S that I needed to share. Jamie, the hotep that we talked about, came out in a suit. I was shocked because I thought if you're gonna do that for your cast photo, that you might do it here.
Mm-hmm.
He said that was just fabric until you brought it to life about her dress, and she's like, "Oh, I've never heard that one before."
Yeah.
For me, it was a little.
It was a little stale, but she seemed to actually kind of like him.
Obviously be into it. Then there was Chris G, and whatever, he was giving some type of poem about like flowers, and he sounded like Christopher Walken to me.
Yeah.
It was too much.
It wasn't the best.
There, of course, we had there's Malik, and then Alec, who was like kind of sweaty and red looking. Will spoke Spanish to her. We have Pardeep, Olu, and then Chris S, and then obviously it keeps on going.
So then we have LT, who is, as a refresher, is Clint Eastwood's grandson, long lost, but now reunited, apparently. He comes out in a tuxedo jacket and shirt, and then underwear that are briefs that are painted like a tuxedo.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just uncomfortable.
Yeah, okay, can you explain what the like thought process was of that again? I think I was so shocked.
I don't even know that he explained it. He was just like, he was like, I wanted to put on my best for you. And Michelle was like, very much like looking above the chest. And she was like, I'm just trying to keep my eyes up here. Caitlin and Tasha, like their little side corner where they're watching, they're like, this is ballsy. But I was like, I just didn't love it.
And for him too, I think he looked a lot better in real life and from Instagram stuff too. Do you agree? Because I felt like he looked
a little bit younger,
a lot younger, and I think a little bit more rugged than some of his photos and stuff were coming off before.
Yeah, because we did not love the vibe we got on Instagram at all.
not at all. Keep the Savannah Cats away. Also want to share, like, can we talk about the Caitlin Tasha stuff? Because I feel like it's interesting that they keep making them as hosts as more of like a quirky type of thing. Like they're in the bushes, they're like sneaking through stuff versus being like this strong, formidable host thing that's standing up and it's like professional, all this. How do you feel about that in terms of like the franchise? Because I feel like it kind of diminishes the ability for a woman to ever be in a hosting position if that's like their approach that they're going to take to it.
Yeah, I enjoy it because I think it's like fun and quirky and like sisterhood vibes. But I do agree it's interesting that the next season of The Bachelor is going to have one male host. And like you said, I don't think they're going to have him hiding in the bushes or acting like an older sibling. Like I think he will be like a respected, serious figure. And so I think it does play into that kind of the gender roles that Bachelor franchise definitely plays into of like, women are fun, quirky, silly, not the main character, whereas men are like supporting, strong, masculine people.
I wish they gave them the opportunity to be able to do both really well, because I do love that they're there to be able to give her this advice and all this stuff and like talk them through it. But I also wish that it would be able to give them the opportunity to show like, no, these women are killing it, because they are, and not just make them kind of like a joke sometimes.
Yeah, agreed. So then we have Ryan, who, rest in peace, my favorite. He shows up in an ice cream truck. I thought it was a great, like Tomi said, perfect entrance. It comes out, he says, I heard you're looking for a double scoop of love. She loves the entrance. It was cute. He looks fabulous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, tons across the board until it wasn't. And then there was also the Rick guy too before, who like did the dinner table thing, right?
Yes.
He had this little head through the table.
He's in a hotel cart. Yeah, he's in
yeah. And again, it's one of those two where it's like you kind of have to like commit to the joke, very much like James from Katie's season with the box. And I feel like if you do something that intense, they'll keep you around, because at least for a week, versus someone who comes in the shorts kind of thing like Chris. So
right,
you know what, I'm not mad that you took that gamble.
Exactly. You're gonna at least have another week.
Mm-hmm.
This one made me laugh. So Rodney comes in on a toy fire truck, right? And he's like, I'm fireman, big macho man, woo, woo, woo. I'm the only fireman you need. He goes in, and I don't even know if it was actually the very next man, but the way they cut it and edited
Mm-hmm.
it, the
Mm-hmm.
very next entrance is another firefighter on a real fire truck.
They did him dirty. Let me just say that.
Exactly.
Well, I
Exactly.
think Daniel was the guy who came on the toy fire truck instead of Rodney, because Rodney was the
Okay.
guy that had the like
The apple.
The Granny
That's
Smith
right.
apple, and he said
Right.
that, and it's like that's the only green apple, bro.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh my gosh, it was wild. And she like even like threw it out there like red delicious, and he was like, nah,
No, that's
I'm
not
I'm
it.
gonna be wrong. But yeah, they were messy for Daniel with the toy truck, because I'm like, I think that Daniel asked, can we get a real fire truck? And they're like, no, we can't do it. He's like, but oh, we should do a toy truck. That'd be so cute.
And he was like,
Teacher wise. And he's like, okay, sure.
And then they put the very next guy on a real one. You know, he had the horns blaring and everything. I was
Yeah.
like, this is messy.
However, I will say, I feel like if you're gonna do the fireman thing, I want you to commit. I want you to come out in the suit. I mean, like the uniform, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like come out of the truck, uniform, hot, heavy.
I wanted them to like somehow put a pole in so he could like.
Why did I want a pole? I was like, I know that's not in a truck. It's only in the station, but like I wanted you to come in down a pole.
Yeah, I want them to set it up somehow.
Do it. You can do it. I'm sure they have ways to find that.
And so my next note is on the very last entrance we see, which is Joe. Did you have anyone else in between there before I jump to that?
So we have Brandon J, who has the bed.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked how they have him narrating throughout a lot of the other guys coming in too, which means that production likes you if they have you like talking through stuff. So I was like, ooh, this is interesting to note. So I put that down. Double handles basket. I don't know. Oh, Spencer. He was like doing basketball things.
Yes.
Jamar with the fitness sleeves rolling off. Edward, I thought was interesting with the meditation bowl.
Yeah. She seemed like she liked it. I was like, I don't like this.
Yeah, it's one of those that's like, okay, it's, you know, perhaps so I'd be like one of those people that's like, ooh, calm yourself before you do this like huge thing, but might not be the same stuff. But yeah, nothing really like of note. Martin did a backflip. Leroy, which I'm so glad that he made it through, but he did like a little photographer selfie. That's pretty much it. A lot of them I feel like were a lot there was no like jaw-dropping thing really.
No.
With the entrances this season.
No. The jaw-dropping thing was the last entrance, which was Joe. And it wasn't so much a gimmick, it's that he comes out, she looks at him, she says, you look really familiar, and he's like, oh. And then she's still staring at him, and she's like, have I met you before? And he doesn't really say anything. And then she's like, she hugs him, and she's like, I really can't place you, and it's freaking me out. And as he's walking away, she screams, have I slid into your DMs? Is your last name Coleman? And he turns and nods and then walks in.
He's
and
just
then we
like,
got a commercial.
He's like, you'll see, we'll talk or something like that. And it's like, okay, bro. Wild. I mean, of course we'll get to it of the ghosting stuff, but I don't know, what is it? Is it ghosting if you're not in a not necessarily a relationship, but you're not like dating? I don't know.
I'm always torn on this. And because I am like of the belief, I'm like, if you're not comfortable or you need to take space for yourself, I'm like, you should do that. And you don't like owe it to anyone to have to explain. But I do get how on like the other hand, she would be upset that she was like talking to this guy for a couple weeks and then he just stopped responding and never said anything again. And then showed up on like her reality TV show, the audacity.
Yeah, truly. I think it's more that and less about like, obviously she's probably like, okay, whatever, it's fine if we weren't even like dating and stuff, but to show up here now, it's like very hard to trust that you're here for the right reasons or whatever, because it's like you very much had the opportunity to be with me.
Right. At any point he could have DM'd her, reached out and been like, hey, I was in a bad space. He never did that. He just like showed up on her season of The Bachelorette.
Yeah.
We'll see if it pays off. So the next note I have is about all of the Joe stuff, but anything in between there that you wanted to dive into before I talk about Joe and Rick?
I think I really enjoyed too. She gave her first speech as well in front of the men, and it was another example of just how confident she is. There was not this, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous, like all this stuff, which like obviously is fine. Like it's a very nervous thing, not nervous thing, that's not a word, a nervous experience to be in front of all these guys. Like they're just all staring at you and expecting to get all these things from you, and you're about to have like all these deep conversations. It's about to be a very long night because we know that they filmed this until like early in the morning, sometimes like 6, 7 a.m. And she just kind of like handled it with grace. I was like, let's do this. First up, come into my office.
Yeah, like she's so
Office
calm,
hours.
cool, collected. I'm like, all
Hmm.
right. So pretty quickly she beelines to Joe because she's like,
Yeah.
let's figure this out. And they go to talk, and she's like, so what's going on? He says that he had a rental because he like flips places. So he said he had a property in George Floyd Square. So when the riots were happening in June 2020, he kind of shut down, was going through a lot mentally, and just never replied to her. And I loved how Michelle handled this
Hmm.
because she was like, totally understand as a half Black woman. And she's like, I would understand better than most people, probably, that you were talking to. But she was like, I want someone that's going to respect me. And what you didn't show respect to me. And so now I'm concerned about that going forward.
Yeah, like if he's gonna
Um,
shut down again if stuff gets hard.
right. And so Joe says that he has done some work in therapy. And Michelle's like, that's wonderful. And she's like, but I still like am questioning you and like trying to protect myself, which I thought was like very honest. And I was like, wow, she was just like so mature about this. Like she didn't like flip out. She wasn't like, I can't believe you. Like she was just
Yeah.
like, I hear you, I see you, but also like this is about me too.
Right. Right. And I think it's interesting to me that she called herself a woman of color.
You didn't love it, did you? I
I
could see it in
didn't
your
love
face.
it. I didn't love it. Because like I hate whenever the term is used when like it doesn't need to be used. Like especially in this
Mhm.
instance, like this was an instance that affected the Black community. So why didn't you just say like as a Black woman or like as a biracial woman? Like I don't know. It felt like it was a tone of perhaps going to have some interesting situations that might happen throughout the rest of the season that we've seen time and time again through the Bachelor Nation, where it's the Black women who come on this franchise who are not monoracial, where they don't really like to identify with their Black side that much and try to distance it as much as possible. I hope that's not the case. I hope we see some like Black love stories. I hope we see a little bit more of learning what that Black experience can be like on this show. But yeah, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way that she did say that in the moment. And I
I
do
know
think
that's
like it
something.
should be sorry,
God.
there's a delay
No,
there.
no, no, go
But
ahead.
I was just gonna say, I do think too, like I understand her being upset with the Joe situation, but I'm like, this is probably the only good excuse for a ghosting thing. Like even if it wasn't a rental property or something that was in George Floyd Square, like that was a really intense time for everyone in their own personal lives, not to mention like to live in the actual city. So like, and I get it, like we're Black people, we go through this all the time. So like if we always just like stopped texting our friends or our family when stuff like that was happening, like nothing would get done. But you still got to have a little bit of grace there, and I think she did show that later on to like give him a chance. But I think she's a little too firm to me in this situation particularly.
Yeah. Woman of color thing is so interesting to me because it's something like I struggle with. I feel like
Mm,
if I say I'm a Black woman, I'm like completely writing off
mm,
half of my ancestry or like my mom's side of my family. And
yeah,
so, but it is something I hear a lot in the Black communities. They're like, you shouldn't say you're a woman of color. We shouldn't use these interchangeably because then it's almost like you're trying to not hide, but like not claim your Black side. And so I've always struggled with that because I'm like, I'm very proud to be a quarter Japanese. I'm very proud. Yeah, I'm not proud to be white, but my mom's half white. Don't want to say I have a white pride, it's getting a little weird.
no, I'm glad you talked on this because I feel like as a multiracial woman, like if someone was to say woman of color, like that's it to me, like or of to be able to not necessarily say I'm one exact thing because you are so like many different backgrounds. So like it makes sense. And but I do understand if you don't want to say I'm a Black woman, I'm a whatever, because there are layers.
Right. And so I think that's like I try and look at it as like more grace. I can see like if you're biracial, why it might be easier to just be like I'm a Black woman,
Hmm.
if you're like
Hmm.
Black and white. But for me, like that's always been a struggle of, and it does go back to some of the things where people were like, you're not Black enough because you're not
Mm.
full Black. And so I
Hmm.
would like struggle with that too. So it's always interesting to like have those conversations and see where people's thoughts about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought she was assertive with Joe, which I don't know how I felt about it. Like, I didn't want her to completely like flop over and be like, oh, okay, it's no big deal that you didn't
Right.
message
Right.
me back. And so I was like proud of her, I guess, for like standing up for herself. But at the same time, like, I know you know, we've been friends for a while. That was like a very emotionally and mentally draining time where, like you said, I could kind of understand someone saying like, it wasn't my priority to text you back about basketball.
And not even text. I think she was saying DM. So like literally,
Right.
I was staying trying to stay as far away from Instagram as possible during that time. So if it wasn't about basketball, I mean, if it was about basketball, then like, why do you even care?
Right. So I was like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
did hear a rumor that he was actually dating someone last summer around that time too. So
Oh,
that puts a little wrinkle in,
in
that makes
time.
it a different, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. Oh, the things we keep unearthing. That's number 3 for me. Wow.
It's my whole top 4 just falling apart, you
Just
know? Just like dominoes, just
Nate,
one of them.
stay strong, bro.
Nate,
Because
do not let me down. I will be in the DMs. Um, it's tough. But so next we see Mr. Rick, and he's still in his like room service cart, hotel cart. I don't know what we actually
yeah,
call
yeah,
them,
yeah.
but that's what I'm gonna call it. He still hasn't come out of it. He says he's hungry. Michelle feeds him a strawberry. And then he finally comes out of the cart. They hug. And it was kind of, he gives me, we were talking about the eyes earlier. He kind of does have serial killer eyes to me.
Mm-hmm.
But it was sweet because he said, I don't know how long I'll be here, but I wanted to make you smile tonight. And I hope you know, however long I'm here, like that's what I'm here for, is to like have fun and make me smile. So if you're having a hard time, you can always come to me and we can like laugh about me being in this cart and anything. And I was like, that was like a good general vibe.
And that's how you do it. Like you find a way, like you make the joke, but then like find a way to transition it to something more serious of like how you can build something together. So yeah, I think you did a phenomenal job.
So I was like, okay, Rick, smooth. I see you. So then Ryan pulls Michelle and takes her
No,
out to the
yeah.
ice. Yeah?
Yes. Sorry,
Okay.
go ahead.
Takes her out to the ice cream truck, tells her about how he's a coach, and she's like, a coach of what? And he's like, Special Olympics. And she's like, he's like, I know. He's like, I'm just a great
I'm
man.
perfect.
Michelle says she feels a spark. And then we knew it was coming almost immediately after that. Tasha and Caitlin go to Michelle and are like, hey, we need to talk to you. I think she was with Leroy, and they're like, oh, we need to talk to you. They pull her, they tell her about the notes, and Michelle, again, like you said, so confident, so just like assertive and like calm and being herself. She's like immediately goes to Ryan and she's like, so what's going on? And she's like, and he's like, what notes? What notes? And she's like, no. And she's like, are they in your room? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, all right, let's go up and see them and then have an honest conversation about them. And I was like, direct queen.
I was shocked because I thought she would at least say like, "Oh, go bring them," but like obviously it makes so much more sense to go with him, so he can't like
toss
throw
them
stuff
away,
like you know. And it's like, "Oh, it's just this one page of me asking about your favorite color and your ice cream preferences." Ooh.
They go up there. I swear he had like 25 plus pages of paper, front and back printed, front and back. Okay, think about how much printer ink that is, guys.
Yeah.
And he's trying to like kind of like Tomi said, he's trying to kind of like and she says, why don't you go out in the hallway?
Yeah, he's like, I'm just gonna, yeah, I'll go. When I'm like, bro, if you weren't like super defensive, like that's what I feel like you should have done in the first place. Like just say, hey, this is it, whatever, back off. Let her have her space.
Yeah. But he doesn't. She's reading through all of these. It just doesn't look good. And so she walks out and she's like, this kind of feels, she's like, I understand misunderstandings happen, but she's like, this feels like a red flag. So I just don't think it's a good way to start a relationship. And he tries, he's like, but is there anything? And she's like, you can respect my decision.
Boom.
I was like, okay.
Queen shit, queen behavior.
Exactly. I was like, this is what I want. This is what I want for every woman. She was like, if you want to do something for me, you can respect my decision. Okay.
Because how do you come back from that? You can't say anything else.
He tried, but then she was like, no, I'm serious. Like if you respect my decision or don't. But either way, you're leaving. So he leaves and
well, what do you think with these notes? Obviously, there's a lot of pages that we did not see. But do you think if it didn't say the thing about screen time on there, that it would have been perceived slightly better? Or is it just that he had notes in general?
Maybe there was one part that she read that I was like, this is a little, it says Ryan, and I'm assuming this is from one of his like female friends, and it
Yeah,
says,
yeah,
you're overly confident, so please don't show that. Just go in and be a positive self. And I was like, so is he an asshole normally? Like, what are we talking about? Is he one of those people that's like, I'm always right? Like,
Imagine your friend's wife being like, "You have a tendency to be an asshole, so like just don't if you want to date people." And
she roasted
you
him.
feeling like you have to keep that on a piece of paper to remember.
I don't know that
Mm,
I would be friends with someone after that.
mm.
If they're like, if Will was like, hey Nicole, you're going on a date, make sure you, I would
But
be like, Tomi,
wow,
I
wow.
adore you, but like,
Mm,
your husband's really roasting me here.
precisely. And I think there's so many things to this. Like, one, why did you think it was ever okay to bring a physical copy of this onto the show, regardless of like, oh, you thought you'd be able to throw it away, or like no one would see it, blah 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 blah. Why? How else was this supposed to be perceived versus
And how much
wrong reasons, quote unquote?
like you're saying, could he not remember to like, don't be overconfident, don't be
Mm-hmm.
cocky? But there are
Mm-hmm.
also 25 plus pages. I'm like, so are we seeing an entirely different personality than is him in
Mm-hmm.
real life? I have no idea.
I think it's interesting to note since the episode came out too, of course, people coming up in the woodwork on Twitter sharing that they were part of the group of girls that was like for his cast of like The Bachelor Live, and saying that he was the same way, like he had like a checklist of all the things he wanted to have in his, significant other, and if they didn't meet every single one, then like it's over, it's done with. He's not even gonna like get the time to take to know them, and basically just being like very abrasive and asshole, like an asshole, essentially. And so I was kind of rooting for him in the first half of this because I was like, I don't like when people get villain edits where I don't think that they're actually terrible people. They're just like edited a weird way, or like they said something that like doesn't work in the context of this franchise. And this very much does not. I'm kind of mad at your friend who took the time to write all these notes for you and didn't say like the number one thing is to be here for the right reasons. And if you share anything along the realm of something that shows that you're not, then you're out, which is very much having a 25-page thing of notes sharing you how to get more screen time and stay out longer. So it's wild to me that he brought it. And now that I know kind of more about like personality wise, I'm like, I don't know. Perhaps you should get a redemption arc in Paradise to see like if those were just bad instances when you were doing this bachelor thing. You got a big head, uh, but I'm not necessarily rooting for him or like saying hashtag justice for Ryan right now.
Yeah, it was tough because at first it kind of, to me, reminded me of like the Hunter villain arc last season on Katie's season, where Hunter was
Mm-hmm.
like a super
Right,
fan
right.
and the guys were like, he's here for the wrong reasons. And it was just like he was a super fan of the show, but they tried to paint it a certain way. And so I was like, maybe this is what's happening with Ryan. But I think it was like Will said, where I was like getting defensive and I was like, this is my man. And I'm a super excited.
Yeah, because you can't say
And then I
that
was
I've
like,
never watched an episode of the show, but you've done significant things with the show, and say that you don't understand it enough to need all this stuff. You just can't. Not at the level that you're at right now.
no, it was embarrassing.
Yeah.
So she sends him home, as she should.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, she goes and she tells the rest of the men, like, I sent Ryan home. I don't want to let that, it's kind of put a damper on my evening, but like, I haven't talked to all of you and that's what's important. And I'm here. And Nate immediately pulls her. I'm rooting for him. Please, please don't drop this. Please don't drop this. And they just have like a really good talk. He's like, I don't want to get into family or anything like that. He says he has a hard time opening up. And she's like, no, I want to know about your family. Like, tell me about your family. And he's like, well, like your parents are together after all these years. Like, that's not the experience I had. And she's like, okay, so tell me more. Like, what does that mean? And I was like, well, this is a little much.
She's like, listen, we only have 8. I think they do theirs in 8 weeks, right?
Yeah.
She's like,
I
we only
think
have 8 weeks, and it's not like we're spending time together like all day,
every
every
single
day.
day.
So she's like, let's get into this.
Yeah, she's like, let's not waste time. Let's go.
Right.
So I was kind of nervous that he was going to be like, oh, I don't like this. But he was beaming after talking to her. And she was really happy. I was like, wow, they are beautiful. And he's 6'8" again.
That's just the tagline. Anytime his name comes up.
He's 6'8".
Yeah. He doesn't even have a last name anymore.
Right. So Caitlin brings in the first impression rose, leaves it on the table. All the guys are like, oh, I want to get I want to get the rose. I want to get the rose. And the rose goes to Mr. Nate. They apparently kiss. I missed this. I thought she didn't kiss anyone, but
Yeah.
apparently she kisses him after she gives him the rose. He is the only man that we saw her kiss in the first episode. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
ooh, knows what she wants.
Yeah.
Direct. Let's go. And then we start the rose ceremony.
Is he the first black guy to get the first impression rose?
I want to say yes. Like, I would have to do a deeper dive to say for sure, but I believe so.
Well, well, well.
We love to see it. Nigerians.
And Nigerian.
Okay, so the rest of the season, Tomi's going to have the flag up in her background. Get ready
Yes.
for it. That's the next phase if he makes it past week 2.
Pretty much. Yeah.
So we start the rose ceremony. Here are the men that go home. I'll start with that.
Yeah.
The men she sends home, Brandon K, Brian, the NFL player.
Who said he was
Thick
repping
boy.
for the thick boy?
He was ripping for the thick boy. Thick boys still are not represented. We're crushed.
Sorry.
Edward, Garrett, a cursed name on this franchise. Jack, Joe Mari, was a little surprised. Because he seemed so nervous to talk to her. He had he had ripped the sleeves off and he was like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm so nervous every time I see her because she's so cool, calm, and collected. So I thought maybe they would have a good convo, but
No.
and of course, Mr. Ryan. So some highlights. Pardeep gets a rose. He is the first Indian American man to get a rose on The Bachelorette.
Let's go Pardeep. And I also think it's important to note, I think it's monoracial because people are saying why not Aaron because he's also of Indian descent, but I know he's half Indian.
Okay.
So I think that's maybe the distinction he's trying to make, maybe. I don't know.
Okay. I know people were like, Debbie, and they're like, what about Kirpa? And I was like, well, we're talking about The Bachelorette, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Aaron too. Good point. Last rose goes to Joe. She's kind of like, I don't know. And she's like, I'm going to give him a second chance, just like see what happens. And he seems excited to be there.
And from the previews, he got a one-on-one date at a baseball game.
Yes.
They kiss.
Yes.
So I also wrote down some couple of names I saw of people who either got one-on-one dates or they're just kissing randomly during group dates.
Yeah. Let's get into the preview and like your thoughts.
So I have Rodney, Olu, Clayton, Martin, and Nate. There was like another white guy that might have been Will.
Okay.
Because I think I thought it was Edward, but he was cut. So I think perhaps Will. Yeah. And so I'm like,
the preview looked good.
It looked good.
We see the men talking about her like, oh, did she have a preview? I'm assuming it's Joe, but I don't know for sure. They were like, it seems like maybe they knew each other before the show. Did they have a previous relationship? So you like are kind of like, is it Joe? Mm-hmm. You see the men kind of, it looks like ganging up on Nate.
Because he's an actor, perhaps? That's what they were saying?
Yeah, and I was like, no. We see like a lot of Clayton, which I was kind of like, I just didn't think he was going to have any charm. And he had more than I expected, which isn't saying a lot because I expected nothing.
In the pits, right.
In the pits, underground. So I'm happy that he has a little more personality than I thought. But yeah, I am actually really excited for this season.
Mm-hmm. There was no ambulance edit, which I texted you about that. I was like, there was not an ambulance in this trailer. Wow. No one's getting hurt for once. It's truly
it looks like there's a date where she gets a tattoo from one of the men. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I saw that too. Wild. So, and I don't think they're bringing in new people. I think they would have perhaps alluded to some type of like drama with that, and that's not happening.
What former man would you love to see them bring in for Michelle? Like, would look good with Michelle? Just think. I was thinking last night, I was like, who would look good with her? Perhaps Ivan.
I think Ivan was in talks to be on this season, and then they said nah. And it's probably because of all the stuff that happened on Paradise.
Right. He fumbled that bag.
Yeah. I think DeMar, perhaps.
He would be a good
could have been good. I know probably Mike is the one that you guys are like screaming right now, but I don't think they would have like vibed together. Or
Andrew doesn't seem like he's dated a black woman, so I don't know if it would work. But they would look good
together.
He's also
he's not cool enough and he's not attractive enough to be with Michelle. I'll just put it out there. I'm sorry. Not sorry.
Do we see Justin? Oh,
Mm-mm.
yeah. Okay.
There's something like there's a certain like
He
I
has
don't
like
know.
a
He has a
swagger.
swag, but like there's I'm feeling more of like a Damar type of, and I feel like Damar's energy matches like a
Yes.
any of these other guys who are on here. First
Because
impression
even
rose
last
guy,
night I was like,
Nate.
how was she ever like super interested in Matt James? Because he
Right.
is not on her
This
level.
level. I think he's just tall. I think she likes tall people.
6'8".
A couple of notes that I do want to say. One, again, I'm super excited because I love Michelle's confidence and her no nonsense, whatever, and just like getting straight down to business. I think it's going to make for like a very good season of like no flip flopping and no one's like kind of unsure of where they stand.
Right.
Um, but two, I think it's important to note between Bachelor in Paradise, where they created this entire arc of saying like we're not going to do this stuff with like Instagram followers, like they're going to demonize that essentially when literally every person's job on that beach essentially was an influencer.
Right.
And then two, to like have the notes thing here and saying like you cannot whatever. So there's this huge podcast in Bachelor Nation called Game of Roses, and they have a book coming out in like January talking about like how to win the Bachelor. And they also they frame and they look at the show like it's a sport, and they do stuff about like looking at Instagram numbers and all this stuff and basically saying like how to get more and how to like leverage all of it. And there's like conspiracy theories and like they like to joke on their podcast, but like I'm very serious when I feel like this is a direct message to them of saying like do not try and like mess with the integrity or whatever, quote unquote, of the show. But my question to producers and this franchise is like if you don't want people trying to figure out game plans and notes and how to like strategize of staying on the beach and stuff longer, then change up your format of your show. Why are you making it so easy for us to guess who's in the top 4, who's going to get further, who's has better edit and all these things? Because it's pretty easy. Like we know from data, literally Bachelor Data's little Instagram account, for like the past all of the Bachelorette history, if someone gets the first impression rose, then they're at least they have a high chance of not winning, perhaps of winning one, but also like at least making it to top 4, top 6.
Right.
So like we already know off the bat, like, oh, okay, so this is the guy that she's most likely going to end up with. It's not the same for the Bachelor. That's a little bit more randomized, but just one shows women intuition. But to have like an element like that in your show, we can already like piece together other things, look at trailers, all this stuff, and kind of like figure out what's going to happen. So like if you don't want people to do all of this, strategize, form a plan, see how they can become the next XYZ, then do something new, do something fresh.
Bring in some of those F-Boy Island twists. We need them.
The producers from that show, bring him back, Elon Gale, because
bring Elon back.
While I'm very excited, obviously, for the season, I think Michelle's doing phenomenal. The budget looks immaculate, and her intro alone was already more than Katie's entire season. I do still feel like there's a very sharp decline happening with this show, and like obviously I love this show, love talking about it here on the podcast. So like if they don't find ways to change it up, like I don't know how much longer they can keep it going.
Exactly. But I am excited for Michelle's season, and I will say it's true because I feel like it's been a drag the past couple seasons. Like we had to watch Matt James because we were going to support a black man.
Right, correct.
Our first
100%.
black Bachelor, we had to.
Yes.
Peter, painful. Cassie's season, painful.
Not Cassie's season.
I try not to use his name because we've got some controversy.
Yeah, we do not speak his name.
I
even only watched the Claire season because of Tayshia as well, of supporting Tayshia.
So I'm like, it's been kind of a drag. Katie's season was long. We recapped it here, but there were a couple times I texted Tomi. I said, I really don't want to watch tonight. I could catch this on Hulu tomorrow, no commercials, but I have to watch it for the pod. So I thought that was kind of what Michelle's season would feel like, but I do feel invigorated.
Yeah. I hope that it sustains the energy that I felt watching it last night.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else before we wrap things up?
I have nothing of note. And I hope you guys slide into our DMs and let's chat a little bit more about this episode. Who are your favorites so far? Who do you think is going the furthest? Who's in your top 4? Yeah, least favorites as well. I could have really pinned on a villain edit. I will say that. I don't have a strong person who's going to be the antagonist this season.
Yeah, like I thought maybe they'd keep Ryan so that
Right.
it'd be an easy villain edit,
Which
but
I think would have been the smartest thing that they could have done.
because he's hot, okay? And then
Mhm.
she would have been conflicted, but
Yes,
they
some
didn't want to do
mid-season
that.
stuff. Nope. Nope, nope.
So yeah, I'm curious who the villain will be. I'm curious if we'll see, like I know on Good Morning America, she was saying we might see like more than one love story. So I'm like,
Mm.
oh, fancy. So yeah, I'm really excited.
We'll just see. We'll see next week.
Yeah, we will see you next week. Be sure to follow along on Instagram at Content Culture Pod, on Twitter at Official CC Pod. I'll be tweeting next week. Tomi will be on Instagram stories for the next episode.
Mhm.
And rate and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to your podcasts. You can watch this in video format on Friday on our YouTube channel. And we will see you next week, friends.
Bye guys.
Bye.